Lear is putting out there to really get America to confront its dark demons. And it's so popular. It's on from 1971 until 1979. And then they have another show come out that's just the same fucking show. It goes until 1983. And it has the most spin-offs to date. All in the Family produces Maude, starring B. Arthur, which is about Edith. People know the characters on All in the Family. Edith is Archie Bunker's wife. Maude is her sister. Maude, they actually introduced Maude in All in the Family just to make this spin-off. She's in an episode where she's talking to Archie about FDR and about how FDR was good and about how his president that he likes, Nixon, sucks. So Maude comes on the air in 1972. A spin-off from Maude is Good Times in 1974, which is about Maude's maid moving to Florida. And that runs for like 6 seasons. Also spun off directly from All in the Family, you have The Jeffersons, which is the longest running spin-off of All in the Family. It goes from 75 to 85. George Jefferson is a friend of Archie Bunker's, or he's tangential to the show, but he's kind of just the black Archie Bunker. He's also racist and everything. So Norman Lear's trying to show both sides here too. From The Jeffersons, we have a spin-off called Checking In, which starts in 1981, which is about the Jeffersons maid. But the formula didn't work, and that only runs for 4 weeks. In 1982, you have Gloria, which is the final episode of All in the Family is Gloria and the meathead moving out with their newborn son Joey. In 1982, you get to see Gloria again. She's divorced the meathead, and it's about her being a divorced person, which you really hadn't seen on television up until Norman Lear. As I said, in 1983, you have Archie Bunker's Place. Oh no, 1979, which runs until 83. Archie Bunker's Place, which is the same exact show, starts at the same time that All in the Family is canceled. I don't know what they were thinking, but it worked. I mean, it ran until 1983. And then the final spin-off is in 1994. You have 704 Hauser, which is just about the house that Archie Bunker lived in. A different family moves into it. It's a black family called the...
I remember this show.
I remember
this show.
I don't remember their name, but it's again like the dad is the black Archie Bunker. And Joey Stivic, who at this point is 20, actually makes an appearance on this show. Joey Stivic is Gloria and the meathead's son. So, also in the line of political activist-y kind of shows that happened in the 70s, you have MASH in 1972. Oh, and this is all on ABC, in case people are keeping tabs of what networks are on top. It's been NBC and ABC. CBS came out and really only has the news. CBS is kind of a crap station. Don't agree on that. Touched by an Angel. So MASH comes out, and in 1972, it's the most popular version of MASH. There was a movie of MASH a couple of years before that, and a book of MASH by something or other Hooker. But the TV show is what people really latch onto, and this was about the Korean War, but it was about the Vietnam War, and everybody knew that. I forget the name of the man who was the producer for this, but really the auteur of it is Alan Alda, who is a voracious anti-war activist. And this is the show where they were like, listen, we don't want to use the laugh track. It's a comedy show, but we're not fucking around here. We don't want to use the laugh track. And the network says, no, you have to have the laugh track. they made a compromise that they didn't need to use the laugh track during scenes in the operating room. But when MASH is shown abroad, there's no laugh track. So Europe proves itself to be cooler than America. And MASH is still shown in syndication. Another big thing from the 70s is Monday Night Football starts airing in 1970, which becomes really important because I think it's like 3 years ago the Super Bowl became today the highest rated television program of all time, and football has held that still. We're in the new golden era of television. Amazing shows are still being produced right now. More amazing than ever before, I would say. But football still reigns supreme on TV. But with all of this going on, even though people are thinking about how can we use television, they still don't know what the fuck they're doing. As you can see on the Dick Cavett Show. I love watching the Dick Cavett Show. If you can get a hold of any Dick Cavett, watch it. It's great. It's a talk show, you know. But nobody is. It's like nobody knows they're on TV. This is Lucille Ball on the Dick Cavett Show, and you can't really tell from this picture, but she is clearly on so much speed. She's jumping and jittering all around. She's really pale. Her lips are pink. She's sweating profusely. She's not making any kind of sense. And every time I see the Dick Cavett Show, that's what it's like. I saw I saw this one episode where it was some guy who I don't know and Groucho Marx are the first guests, and then he brings out Truman Capote, and he starts to talk to Truman Capote, and as soon as he does, Groucho Marx starts being nasty and saying like, oh, I thought you were having me on this program to talk to me, but I guess you're just going to talk to this other guy. And he's just a jerk the whole time. There's one episode of the Dick Cavett Show where a fight breaks out between Norman Mailer and Gore Vidal, which is amazing. You should YouTube it. It's really great. But so clearly, nobody's vetting these people. Nobody's saying, okay, there's no pre-interview. Like, it's just madness. Which brings us to the 80s. Which I don't know how fast I'm going here, but whatever. If people feel I need to slow, feel free to call out when you want, or ask questions, or tell me to speed up or slow down. In the 80s, shit gets tighter. One of the things that makes this happen is cable television. Cable television has been around the whole time. Like, almost as soon as radio television broadcasts happen, they make a thing called CATV, which I call CatV. I don't know if anybody else does that. But always done. Yeah. Cats are cool. So yeah, cable television has always been around, but it's there's not really broadcast channels. HBO starts in 1972 when he's like a plumber or some kind of utility guy in New York just buys a bunch of cable and wires up New York for TV, and then he's bought out, and nothing really happens with that. There's a couple of thousand people in New York who get HBO. There's not regular programming. Nothing really happens with it. In 76, Ted Turner starts TBS. In 77, you get ESPN. But it's not really worth it for cable stations. The thing that starts making, there's two things that really start making cable TV work, and one is HBO in like 74 starts converting their cable signal to microwaves and using satellite TV. So when I'm a kid, I never really thought of HBO as a cable station. I thought of it as a satellite station. And it still doesn't really have regular programming. But in 1984, I think spearheaded by Ted Turner, there's a big push to deregulate cable television, which makes it a lot easier for a cable station to happen. Also, in 1980, you have, CNN. CNN starts. This is the first 24-hour news station, cable news network. And it creates this thing called the CNN effect, which I think had been kind of going on, but just not in a recognizable way. But this is where you really start feeling the effect of 24-hour news coverage, I guess because it's the first time that it happened. But it's making it so, it's making it hard for politicians. They have to have policy decisions. Now, they don't have time to postulate, to ruminate, which is kind of how our government's designed. We have the committee system, which is supposed to put a brakes on government so we can think about what we're doing before we just pass legislation. And CNN kind of ruins that, but it also keeps people informed. Also the real big thing that happens, and this is crazy, this is what ruins news, is 1986, right? Yeah, 1986, Ronald Reagan gets rid of the Fairness Doctrine, which was put into place by the FCC in 1949, and says that licensed broadcasters have to set aside some time to controversial issues and showing opposing viewpoints. They talk about this in the movie Good Night and Good Luck a little bit. But Ronald Reagan feels that with the growing cable channels, you can now have specific channels for whatever your point of view is, so we don't, the fairness doctrine's really moot. And in the 60s, they had already ruled that though the FCC could put forth the Fairness Doctrine, they weren't obligated to enforce it. And now they don't. And this means that the news is beholden to ratings, and it just becomes crap quickly. Also, the other thing that's happening in the 80s is that we return to porting the stage onto television. Comedians start getting television programs, which is the same thing as vaudeville. The first one is The Cosby Show in 1984. Bill Cosby is the first stand-up comedian to get a television program. Also, in 1987, you have Roseanne. And then, I didn't look too much into this, but the weirdest comedian getting a television program instance that I'm aware of is Bob Saget on Full House. Because like the Cosby Show episodes are just Bill Cosby bits put on TV. Roseanne's show is pretty much what Roseanne's comedy is about. Bob Saget is a fucking filthy comedian. He's the grossest comedian telling you the bluest jokes, and here he is playing a prim and proper neat freak, holding together this wingnut family. I don't know how that happened. So that's what was going on in the 80s. Another really big thing that happened in the 80s is in 1983, HBO gets its first original programming, which is important because I think that HBO is the best I mean, it's not television, it's HBO. But in 1983, it has its first original programming, Fraggle Rock. Oh. Later in the 80s, they get Tales from the Crypt. And Arliss. Yeah! There we go. I worked really hard in this lecture to figure out how to mention Arliss. Because I thought it's a joke to me. Oh, and then the other groundbreaking thing that happens in the 80s happens in 1986. Up until this point, you've had 3 broadcasting stations, not cable, like 3 regular channels: ABC, CBS, and NBC. The Ancient Bavarian Conspiracy, the National Bavarian Conspiracy, and the Conspiracy of Bavarian Seers. I once read is what those things stand for.
The symbol is the eye.
Right. But in 1986, Rupert Murdoch comes over to America. And gives us Fox. The very first program on Fox is The Late Show with Joan Rivers. It sucks. Nobody likes it. It doesn't last long at all. Joan Rivers quits, and then they just have guest hosts, and it doesn't last out a full season. But they spring back. Also, in the beginning, Fox only had this show. It was only late night television. And that's in July, and then in November of '86, they come out with 21 Jump Street, with someone who is now one of the most important people in America, Captain Jack Sparrow. Also, the Tracy Ullman Show.
Head of the Class. Where was that?
I don't know. I don't know.
That was an awesome show.
I should have said this at the beginning. There's going to be a lot of shows that I don't mention. I don't mention my favorite show. And really,
mention it.
It's Rule Time. And really, this is a cheap shout out to shows that I think people will like, and that I also think will lead up to proving that my idea for television is inherent and natural.
What about Alf?
I don't talk about Alf. But so the Tracy Ullman Show brings us what becomes the symbol of Fox, The Simpsons. That's what they used to look like. Which is another long-running show. I think maybe it runs way too long. And everybody is happy to see it go now. But The Simpsons doesn't air as its own programming until 1989, which brings us to the 90s, which perhaps it's just because this is when I started being able to think, but that's when television starts to really take off to me. One of the most important shows of the 90s is Seinfeld, which starts in 1989. Now, Seinfeld becomes really important. It's another case of bringing America together, but now it's water cooler television. You know, you meet up and you talk about the TV the next day. You discuss the Seinfeld episode, and up until this point, it has been my wife beater, my boxer shorts, my TV dinner. I'm going to watch Andy Griffith. It's people aren't putting that much thought into television, and I think Seinfeld really brings it home for folk. It also gets rid of the 3-camera system by the end. I think it's the 8th season where they go back to having only one camera, not shooting in the studio, which is crazy, and kind of making television more cinematic.
When Kramer has to poop, they chase him through Central Park.
Right. Or when he's a turkey, when he puts butter all over himself and then sits in the hot tub for a while and makes himself. And they had that turkey shot. They talked a lot about that on the inside look. Also, in 1990, there's a television show that, although it's not part of the new golden age of TV, I think really informs what's going on in television right now in a huge way, such that all shows are compared to it, and everybody has orgasms when they think that it might come back. Twin Peaks. But which is this is one of the first times that you see someone going from the big screen to the small screen. That doesn't really happen that much up till now. And for some reason, the network seems to hate it. They move this show. This is a hard show to follow, and yet they move the airtime around constantly, so you can't watch every episode. It's really, really confusing to me, and so it ends up not working out. It only runs for 2 seasons and ends on a ridiculous cliffhanger. Has everybody seen Twin Peaks?
No.
Oh, don't talk about Twin Peaks?
What are you doing?
I'm asking if people have seen Twin Peaks! Well, I'm not going to. I think I've done a pretty good job of going through this lecture and having no spoilers. So if you don't want to have MASH spoiled or Beulah, have it spoiled.
How's Annie?
Right, how is she? But, and Twin Peaks, I think, is really when cult television explodes. You have some cult television before this, Dallas and Dynasty, you know, you have
Falcon Crest.
Those weirdos who like Dark Shadows, but it's really not the same thing.
Tales from the Dark Side.
Also, big in cult TV during the 90s is X-Files. I don't have a very good reason for including X-Files in this lecture. It wasn't really an innovative show. It didn't push the boundaries of television at all. But it's just so good. And bad at the same time, though. Like X-Files still has wooden acting and formula, and it's still pretty crappy. But something that is a groundbreaking show from the 90s that I didn't really pay attention to at the time, that I want to go back and visit, is NYPD Blue.
Oh yeah, shaky cameras.
This is kind of, NYPD Blue is the first show by someone who I think is an important auteur of the new golden age of television, David Milch, who brings beautiful dialogue to the screen. But NYPD Blue is the first R-rated television show. There's violence, there's cursing. NYPD Blue.
Butt crack.
Butts.
Yeah, you see Sipowitz's ass. However, this is not the first time that we've seen male ass on broadcast television. The first time is in MASH. You see Radar's ass. Also, 1963. In 1963, you have the first curse word ever uttered on television, which is hell, which is on Star Trek.
That's when hell broke loose.
Captain Kirk says, "Let's get the hell out of here."
All hell broke loose.
Yeah. And then in 1985, you have the first time fuck is ever said on
I
television.
said bitch first, I hate that.
Huh?
I say bitch all the time now, it drives me crazy.
I don't know, I didn't look bitch up. But fuck.
You
Fuck was
wanted
said in
to,
1985 on Saturday Night Live, but that person got fired.
And then he killed himself.
Which they
Killed himself?
continue to do if you
Charles
say fuck on
Rocket,
Saturday
yeah.
Night Live. I watched the episode where Norm Macdonald accidentally said, he's like reading the fake news and then he goes, "Bah!" Some kind of cough, and he's like, "What the fuck?" And then realizes what he's done. He's like, "My farewell performance, ladies and gentlemen." And then he was fired. But but then the other thing, the first time shit is said on television occurs in 1999 on Chicago Hope, a CBS show. Maybe not so lame as we thought. No, Chicago Hope sucks. Chicago Hope is an ER wannabe. But so the other big thing that happens in the 90s, and this is where I think I may make a claim that may be controversial. The new golden age of television starts in 1997 with Oz
Yeah.
on HBO.
That's not kind
Well, I didn't know what I felt like people would want to say it's The Sopranos. But then I looked it up. Huffington Post says that Oz is where the new golden age is. In an interview with a guy who wrote a book, which I'm really excited to read, called The Revolution Was Televised, which is just about the new golden age of TV. What? Oh, Daria doesn't start until 2000. No. It's not in 97.
It's not
It's in the 90s.
I know, I don't care about Daria. So I didn't put it in. Like I said, there's a lot of shows that are important that I didn't include because they don't pertain to my thesis. The golden age of TV has continued on. And this is all on HBO. Yes, Dina.
But in terms of the Oz versus Sopranos controversy, like, were people into Oz? I can see it like retroactive.
Yeah, people-
No, people were crazy about Oz. Yeah. Sophomore year, Oz was on TV all the time, and people would gather to watch it. So HBO continues holding strong with the golden age of television with Sex and the City in 1998, The Sopranos in 1999, and 6 Feet Under in 2001. But at the same time that the golden age of TV is starting, the worst fucking thing that could happen to television is happening, and that is, and somebody said it already, reality TV. Which technically has been with us the whole time. Game shows are often lumped in with reality television and talent competitions, so Star Search is conceivably reality TV. I feel like what reality TV is... So what if we look at reality TV as taking stupid America and giving them their chance on television, the first real reality television show is The Gong Show. But I like that show, it's so good. But at the time, people were really upset about it. I don't know, who here has seen Confessions of a Dangerous Mind? Go watch it ASAP. It's about Chuck Barris, who was an amazing television auteur. He did The Newlywed Show, The Dating Game. He just came up with the craziest stupid things. He's like, what can I get people on screen doing? And then just give them a dishwasher. He was also obsessed with appliances. He really wanted to people appliances. In Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, he's like, I came up with a great new idea for a show. You could have somebody live a horrible life, and if they get to the end of it without killing themselves, they get a dishwasher. He's a bitter, nasty man. But yeah, people are upset. They're saying, like, the Gong Show is ruining America. You're making fun of those people.
Is it the first game show?
Oh no, game shows. I mean, the first game show is Face to Face, the police composite drawing show. And game shows have existed. Yeah, they exist the whole time. I just don't really care about game shows, even though I want to be a game show. I also think that America's Funniest Home Videos is kind of like keeping in with that idea of like, are you stupid? Be on TV. But the first real modern instance of reality TV comes out in '92 with MTV's The Real World.
True story!
And shit goes to hell from there. Now we have this surreal life and Paris Hilton somehow famous. So that sucks. But another thing that's going on in the '90s, just beginning, although upon research I found out that it actually began in 1988, is Internet TV, web TV. The first serialized web show starts in 1988. It's called Quantum Link Serial, and it is part of the package of AOL. It's not really web shows because it's not on the web. It's just on AOL. But it is an online serial show.
All-seeing eye.
And nothing really happens with web TV until 1995. You get a thing called Bullseye Art, which comes out with a show called Pork Chops. The thing that I watched on Bullseye Art is Porno Pony. It's cartoons. They're really weird and dumb and gross. But this is the first time that people are able to just make money by making shows for the internet. They sell their shows to Adam. What is it? I wrote this shit down so I wouldn't remember. Oh, they also have a show called Miss Muffy and the Muff Mob.
Yeah.
I thought that was fun. So they lease their shows out to like Adam Films and Shock Wave and other things like that. But it's not huge. They were able to stay afloat, and I mean, they are still around.
What about Home Shopping Network?
Yeah, I didn't pay attention to the Home Shopping Network. And then Internet TV makes an even bigger leap. In 1995, you have the first live-action drama for the internet with The Spy. Has anybody seen The Spy?